In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, a powerful alliance of alien races ruled with an iron fist. Known as the Galactic Federation, this group of advanced civilizations had conquered countless worlds across the stars. Their might was unmatched, their technology unparalleled, and their hunger for expansion insatiable. At the head of this cosmic empire stood the Zorthian race, towering beings with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with an eerie purple light. Their physical strength was legendary, capable of crushing steel with their bare hands. The Zorthians led the Galactic Federation with a mix of technological prowess and brute force. Aboard the flagship of the Federation's armada, the Star Crusher, stood General Vexlor, the most decorated military leader in Zorthian history. His massive frame, covered in battle scars and adorned with medals, cut an imposing figure as he gazed out at the sea of stars before him. "General," a subordinate approached, bowing low. "We've detected a new planet in the Orion Arm. Initial scans show signs of civilization." Vexler's lips curled into a sinister smile. "Excellent. Prepare the invasion fleet. We shall bring this world into the embrace of the Federation." As the crew bustled about, making preparations for their next conquest, Vexler's mind wandered to the countless worlds he had subjugated. Each victory had been swift, each resistance crushed beneath the might of the Federation's forces. This new planet would be no different. Days later, as the Star Crusher entered the orbit of the newly discovered world, something unexpected occurred. The ship's sensors blared to life, warning of incoming projectiles. "Impossible," roared Vexler, his purple eyes flashing with anger. "No primitive world should have weapons capable of reaching us in orbit." Yet, the impossible was happening. The planet's defenses were not only detecting their presence but actively engaging them. Vexler watched in disbelief as several smaller Federation ships erupted into flames, struck by the planet's weaponry. "General," the ship's tactical officer reported, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything we've encountered before. The planet's defensive capabilities are formidable." Vexler's face contorted with rage. This was not how things were supposed to go. Every world they'd encountered had fallen quickly, their defenses nothing more than minor inconveniences to the Federation's might. But this was different. "Deploy the ground forces," Vexler commanded, his voice a low growl. "I want this resistance crushed. Show them the true power of the Galactic Federation." As dropships descended towards the planet's surface, carrying thousands of Federation troops, Vexler received reports of fierce battles erupting across the alien world. The planet's defenders, though seemingly primitive in some aspects, fought with a tenacity and skill that caught the invaders off guard. Hours turned into days, and days into weeks. What should have been a quick subjugation turned into a prolonged conflict. Reports flooded in of Federation troops facing heavy losses, their advanced weapons and armor sometimes proving ineffective against the planet's strange and unpredictable defenses. Vexler's fury grew with each passing day. He had never faced such resistance, never been challenged in this way. His reputation, his unbroken record of conquests, was at stake. "Enough," he finally roared, slamming his fist onto the command console. "I will not be defeated by some backwater planet and its primitive inhabitants. Prepare my personal shuttle. I will lead the next assault myself." As Vexler's shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, he vowed to crush this resistance personally. He would find the leaders of this world, break them with his own hands, and make an example of them for the entire galaxy to see. Little did General Vexler know that he was about to encounter a species unlike any the Galactic Federation had ever faced before. A species that would challenge everything he thought he knew about strength, strategy, and the very nature of intelligence in the universe. As his shuttle touched down on the war-torn surface of the planet, Vexler stepped out, his massive form casting a long shadow in the alien sunlight. He was ready for battle, confident in his superiority. But the universe had a surprise waiting for him. one that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Federation. General Vexilor's massive boots crunched on the strange, bluish grass of the alien world. All around him, the sounds of battle filled the air. Explosions shook the ground, and energy weapons lit up the sky like deadly fireworks. The Zorthian leader surveyed the battlefield with his glowing purple eyes. His troops, the pride of the Galactic Federation, were struggling against the planet's defenders. This was not how it was supposed to be. Report. Vexilor barked at a nearby officer. The smaller alien, covered in a protective suit, saluted nervously. General, we're facing heavy resistance in all sectors. The enemy's tactics are unusual. They're adapting to our strategies faster than we can implement them. Vexilor growled in frustration. How could these primitives be so troublesome? He had conquered worlds with technology far more advanced than this one seemed to possess. Suddenly, a deafening explosion rocked the area. Vexilor turned to see one of the Federation's massive war machines topple to the ground, smoke pouring from its joints. Impossible, he roared. How did they take down a crusher tank? As if in answer, a small figure darted out from behind some nearby rocks. It moved with incredible speed, dodging energy blasts from Federation soldiers with ease. In its hands was a strange, tube-like weapon. Before anyone could react, the figure aimed its weapon at another crusher tank. There was a whoosh, followed by another earth-shaking explosion. The second tank fell, just like the first. Vexilor couldn't believe his eyes. This single small soldier had taken out two of the Federation's most powerful ground units in a matter of moments. Capture that one, Vexilor ordered, pointing at the nimble fighter. I want to see what we're dealing with. Federation troops swarmed towards the lone soldier. But again and again, the small figure evaded them, using the terrain and debris for cover. It moved like nothing Vexilor had ever seen before, anticipating attacks before they came. Finally, after an intense chase, the Federation soldiers managed to surround the troublesome fighter. Vexilor approached, a smug grin on his face. Now he would see the face of the one who had caused so much trouble. As the soldiers parted to let their general through, Vexilor got his first clear look at the captured fighter. He was underwhelmed. The soldier was small, much smaller than a Zorthian. Its body was covered in dirty, camouflaged clothing, and its head was protected by a simple helmet. It looked weak, fragile even. Vexilor laughed, a booming sound that echoed across the battlefield. This is what has been giving the mighty Federation so much trouble. What a joke. He reached down and easily lifted the soldier by the front of its uniform. The captured fighter didn't struggle, but Vexilor could feel its steady gaze behind the helmet's visor. What are you? Vexilor mocked. Some sort of maintenance drone playing at being a soldier. How could something so puny cause us so much trouble? The soldier remained silent, but its posture radiated defiance. Annoyed by the lack of response, Vexilor shook the small figure. Answer me, weakling. What trickery have you used to resist us? How have you and your kind managed to stand against the Galactic Federation? Slowly, deliberately, the soldier reached up and removed its helmet. Vexilor's eyes widened in shock. The face that stared back at him was unlike any he had encountered in his many conquests. It had no scales, no tentacles, no exoskeleton. Instead, it had soft-looking pale skin, a tuft of dark hair on top, and two eyes that burned with intelligence and determination. I am human, the soldier said simply, its voice carrying a strength that belied its small stature. Vexilor's grip loosened in surprise, and the human easily broke free, landing gracefully on the ground. The Zorthian general took a step back, his mind reeling. Humans. He had heard whispers, rumors of this species, but they were supposed to be myths, stories told to scare young aliens. Yet here one stood before him, real and far more formidable than he could have imagined. As Vexilor stared at the human soldier, he realized that the battle for this planet was far from over. In fact, it might have only just begun. General Vexlor stood frozen, his purple eyes locked on the human soldier before him. The battlefield around them seemed to fade away as the Zorthian leader tried to process what he was seeing. A human, Vexlor muttered, his voice a mix of disbelief and growing concern. But how? Your kind is just a legend, a story to frighten hatchlings. The human's lips curved into a small, confident smile. We're very real, General, and we don't take kindly to invaders. Before Vexlor could respond, the human moved with shocking speed. In a blur of motion, it ducked under the arms of the nearest Federation soldiers, snatched a weapon from one of them, and was suddenly free of the encirclement. Stop it, Vexlor roared, snapping out of his stupor. Don't let it escape. But the human was already gone, disappearing into the chaos of the battlefield with an agility that seemed impossible for its small frame. Vexlor's mind raced. If humans were real, if they were the ones defending this planet, then everything he thought he knew about this invasion was wrong. He needed to regroup, to rethink their strategy. All units, fall back to the landing zones. He commanded through his communication device. We need to reassess our approach. As the Federation forces began their retreat, Vexlor couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every shadow, every piece of debris seemed to hide a potential human threat. Back at the main landing zone, Vexlor gathered his top officers. The mood was tense, with many of the alien leaders showing signs of stress and fatigue. Report, Vexlor demanded. What do we know about these humans? One of the officers, a reptilian creature named Sular, stepped forward. General, our databanks have very little concrete information. Humans are mentioned in ancient texts from several worlds, always as a warning. A warning of what? Vexlor asked, his patience wearing thin. Sular's forked tongue flicked nervously. The texts speak of humans as a paradox. Physically weaker than many species, yet capable of incredible feats. They're described as adaptable, unpredictable, and dangerous. Another officer, a bulbous being named Gloop, chimed in. There are stories, sir, of humans defeating forces far superior to their own. They're said to be masters of turning weakness into strength. Vexlor pondered this information. He thought back to the human he'd encountered, how it had moved, how it had fought. There was something about it that he couldn't quite understand, a quality that went beyond physical attributes. Sir, a communications officer interrupted. We're picking up transmissions from the human forces. They're laughing, sir. Laughing, Vexlor bellowed. We're in the middle of a war, and they're laughing. The officer played the transmission. Sure enough, amid the sounds of battle, there was unmistakable laughter. It wasn't mocking or cruel, but rather the sound of beings enjoying a challenge. Vexlor felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of creatures could find joy in the face of such overwhelming odds? As if to answer his unspoken question, explosions rocked the landing zone. Alarms blared as Federation ships began to report critical damage. It's the humans, a panicked soldier shouted. They're attacking from all sides. Vexlor rushed to the command center's view screen. What he saw defied belief. Small groups of humans were wreaking havoc on his forces. They moved in perfect coordination, using the Federation's own weapons and vehicles against them. But what struck Vexlor most was the variety of tactics the humans employed. Some used brute force, others relied on stealth. Some worked with complex technology, while others used surprisingly simple but effective tools. As he watched his invasion force crumble before this unexpected enemy, Vexlor realized a terrible truth. The Federation, for all its power and technology, had never faced an adversary quite like humanity. For the first time in his long military career, General Vexlor felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. The battle for this planet was far from over, and he was beginning to wonder if the mighty Galactic Federation had finally met its match in these strange, fascinating, terrifying humans. General Vexlor paced back and forth in the command center, his massive form casting long shadows in the dim light. The sounds of battle raged outside, punctuated by explosions that shook the very ground beneath them. "How?" he muttered, his purple eyes glowing with a mix of anger and confusion. "How are they doing this?" A junior officer approached cautiously, holding a datapad. "Sir, we've analyzed the humans' fighting patterns. They're unpredictable. Each group seems to have its own unique strategy." Vexilor snatched the pad, his eyes scanning the information rapidly. The more he read, the deeper his frown became. "This makes no sense," he growled. "Their tactics change constantly. It's as if we're fighting a different species every time we engage them." Just then, the command center's main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. To everyone's surprise, it was from the human forces. A face appeared on the screen, the same human soldier Vexilor had encountered earlier. The human's expression was calm, almost friendly, which only served to unnerve the alien general further. "Greetings, General Vexilor," the human said, a hint of a smile on its face. "I thought it was time we had a chat." Vexilor straightened his massive frame, trying to look as imposing as possible. "You dare to contact me, human. Do you wish to surrender?" The human's smile widened. "Not quite. We thought you might like to surrender instead. It would save us all a lot of trouble." The audacity of the statement left Vexilor speechless for a moment. When he finally found his voice, it was filled with rage. "Surrender? The Galactic Federation does not surrender. We have conquered thousands of worlds. We will not be defeated by a bunch of primitive apes." The human's expression turned serious. "We're not primitive, General. We're just different, and difference can be a powerful thing." As if to emphasize the point, a series of explosions rocked the command center. Alarms blared as reports of human forces breaching their defenses flooded in. The human on the screen continued, unfazed by the chaos. "You see, General, humans have something that your Federation doesn't understand: diversity. Each of us is unique, with our own strengths and weaknesses. When we come together, we create something greater than the sum of our parts." Vexilor watched in horror as the command center's display showed human forces advancing on all fronts. They used Federation technology as if they had been born to it, turning the aliens' own weapons against them with terrifying efficiency. But how?" Vexilor stammered, his usual confidence crumbling. "You're so small, so fragile. How can you be defeating us?" The human's eyes sparkled with something Vexilor couldn't quite identify. Pride, perhaps, or amusement. "Size isn't everything, General. Humans have faced challenges throughout our history that have made us adaptable, resourceful. We don't just survive. We thrive on adversity." Another explosion, closer this time. Vexilor could hear the sounds of fighting just outside the command center. The human leaned closer to the camera. "It's not too late, General. We don't want to destroy you. Humanity has always been open to peaceful coexistence. All you have to do is leave our world, spread the word that Earth is not to be trifled with, and we can end this conflict." Vexilor's mind raced. Everything he had believed about warfare, about the superiority of the Galactic Federation, was being challenged. These humans, these small, strange creatures, had done the impossible. They had brought the mighty Federation to its knees. As the sounds of battle grew ever closer, General Vexilor faced the most difficult decision of his long military career. Could he swallow his pride and retreat, saving what was left of his forces? Or would he fight to the bitter end, upholding the Federation's policy of never surrendering? The fate of the invasion, and perhaps the future of the Galactic Federation itself, now rested in his hands. General Vexilor stood motionless, his purple eyes fixed on the screen where the human's face still waited patiently. The command center around him was in chaos, with officers shouting reports and alarms blaring incessantly. In all his years of conquest, Vexilor had never faced such a decision. The thought of retreat was foreign to him, an admission of weakness that went against everything the Galactic Federation stood for. Yet the alternative seemed increasingly like suicide. "General, An officer called out. "We've lost contact with the Eastern Front. The humans have overrun our defenses there." Another voice chimed in. "Sir, our air support is down to 30%. The humans have some kind of energy weapon we've never seen before." Vexilor's mind raced. How had it come to this? How had these small, seemingly insignificant creatures brought the mighty Federation to its knees? The human on the screen spoke again, its voice calm amidst the storm. "Time's running out, General. What's your decision?" Vexilor's massive fists clenched and unclenched. He thought of his homeworld, of the praise and glory that would have awaited him had he succeeded in this conquest. But he also thought of the soldiers under his command, of the lives that would be lost in a futile last stand. Finally, he made his choice. "Attention all Federation forces." Vexilor's voice boomed through the communication systems. "This is General Vexilor. Initiate Emergency Protocol Omega. I repeat, initiate Emergency Protocol Omega." A hush fell over the command center. Everyone knew what that meant. Retreat. Surrender. Defeat. The human on the screen nodded solemnly. "A wise choice, General. We'll allow your forces to withdraw peacefully. But remember our warning. Earth is off limits to the Federation from this day forward." Vexilor could only nod in response before the transmission cut off. He turned to his stunned officers. "You heard the order. Begin evacuation procedures immediately." As the Federation forces scrambled to retreat, Vexilor made his way to his personal shuttle. From the viewport, he watched as his once mighty invasion fleet limped away from the blue-green planet that had defeated them. But even in defeat, Vexilor's analytical mind was working. He observed the human ships that escorted them out of the planet's orbit. Their technology was a curious mix of familiar and utterly alien concepts. Some of their vessels seemed almost primitive compared to Federation standards, while others displayed capabilities he couldn't even begin to understand. As they cleared the planet's solar system, Vexilor's second-in-command approached him. "Sir, what do we tell the High Council?" Vexilor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "We tell them the truth. We tell them about the humans. But, sir, they'll never believe that such a species could defeat us." A small wry smile appeared on Vexilor's face. "Then we'll make them believe. Because if the Federation doesn't learn from this, we're doomed to repeat it." As the remnants of the invasion fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth behind, Vexilor found himself filled with a strange mix of emotions. There was shame at his defeat, yes, but also a grudging respect for the humans. And beneath it all, a spark of curiosity. These humans, with their adaptability, their unpredictability, their sheer determination, they were unlike anything the Federation had encountered before, and Vexilor had a feeling they would be hearing from them again. As the stars streaked by outside his viewport, the general made a silent vow. He would learn everything he could about these humans. He would understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their incredible diversity that had proven so formidable. Because Vexilor knew one thing for certain, the galaxy had changed today. The age of unchallenged Federation dominance was over. A new player had entered the cosmic stage, and their name was humanity. 3 standard galactic months had passed since the failed invasion of Earth. General Vexilor stood before the High Council of the Galactic Federation, his massive frame dwarfing the ornate podium. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from every major species in the Federation, their curious eyes all fixed on the disgraced general. "And so," Vexilor concluded, his voice echoing in the vast space, "I made the decision to withdraw our forces from Earth. The humans proved to be far more formidable than we could have ever anticipated." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Many looked skeptical, others seemed outright angry. The head counselor, an ethereal being of pure energy, spoke up. "General Vexilor, you expect us to believe that a single primitive planet defeated our most advanced invasion force?" Vexilor stood his ground. "Counselors, I assure you, there was nothing primitive about the humans or their technology. They may look weak, but their strength lies in their adaptability and their diversity. Another council member, a multi-limbed insectoid, chittered loudly. Impossible. No single species can be that versatile. That's just it, Vexilor replied, his purple eyes gleaming. The humans aren't just a single, uniform species like us. Each one is unique, with their own strengths and weaknesses. When they work together, they become something more. The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some councillors dismissed Vexilor's claims outright, while others listened with growing concern. Amidst the chaos, a small, unassuming figure stepped forward. It was Zix, the Federation's head of scientific research. The diminutive alien cleared its throat, immediately silencing the room. Esteemed colleagues, Zix began, its voice surprisingly deep for its size. I have analyzed the data from General Vexilor's expedition. I believe his assessment of the humans is correct. Zix activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images of Earth and its inhabitants flickered to life, along with charts and diagrams. The humans possess a unique genetic structure that allows for incredible variation within their species, Zix explained. This, combined with their remarkable ability to adapt to new situations, makes them a force to be reckoned with. The head counselor leaned forward, intrigued. Are you suggesting these humans could pose a threat to the Federation? Zix paused, choosing its words carefully. I'm suggesting, Counselor, that the humans represent both a potential threat and an opportunity. Their creativity and adaptability could either challenge us or help us grow. General Vexilor stepped forward again. Counselors, I propose we reconsider our approach. Instead of conquering Earth, we should seek to understand the humans, perhaps even ally with them. The chamber erupted once more, this time in shocked outrage. The idea of the mighty Galactic Federation allying with a newly discovered species was unprecedented. But as the debate raged on, a strange thing began to happen. More and more counselors started to see the logic in Vexilor's proposal. The potential benefits of learning from the humans began to outweigh the shame of their defeat. Finally, after hours of heated discussion, the head counselor called for order. We have reached a decision, it announced. The Galactic Federation will establish a diplomatic mission to Earth. We will seek to learn from the humans, and, if possible, forge an alliance. As the council session adjourned, General Vexilor felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had feared punishment, even execution, for his defeat. Instead, he found himself at the forefront of a new era for the Federation. As he left the chamber, Zix approached him. Quite a turn of events, General, the scientist remarked. I hope you're prepared for what comes next. Vexilor raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Zix's eyes twinkled with excitement. Why, our first official contact with the humans, of course. And guess who's been chosen to lead the diplomatic mission? As realization dawned on him, Vexilor couldn't help but laugh. It seemed his adventure with humanity was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The sleek diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Federation entered Earth's orbit, its shimmering hull reflecting the blue-green planet below. On the bridge stood General Vexilor, now appointed as the chief diplomat for this historic mission. His purple eyes scanned the view screen, taking in the world that had so thoroughly defeated him just months ago. Nervous, General? Asked Zix, the small scientist who had accompanied him on this journey. Vexilor's lips curled into a wry smile. Nervous? No. Cautious? Absolutely. As they prepared to make their descent, a transmission came through. A familiar face appeared on the screen. The same human soldier Vexilor had encountered during the invasion. Welcome back, General, the human said, a hint of amusement in its voice. I hope this visit will be more pleasant than the last. Vexilor nodded respectfully. Indeed. We come in peace this time, seeking understanding and cooperation. The human smiled. Glad to hear it. You're cleared for landing. We'll meet you at the designated coordinates. As their ship touched down in a large open field, Vexilor couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. But this time, instead of the sounds of battle, they were greeted by a small welcoming committee of humans. Vexilor and Zix stepped out of their ship, along with a few other Federation representatives. The human soldier from their previous encounters stepped forward. "General Vexilor, on behalf of Earth, I welcome you," the human said, extending a hand. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen, and I'll be your liaison during your stay." Vexilor looked at the outstretched hand, remembered the human custom he had been briefed on, and carefully shook it. "Thank you, Captain Chen. I look forward to learning more about your people." As they walked towards a nearby building, Vexilor couldn't help but notice the diversity among the humans present. They came in different sizes, colors, and shapes, a visual representation of the adaptability that had proved so formidable in battle. Inside, they were led to a conference room where representatives from various Earth nations waited. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. "Before we begin," Captain Chen said, "we have a question for you, General. Why did you come back? Why seek peace now?" Vexilor paused, considering his words carefully. "Because you taught us something, Captain. Something the Federation had forgotten in its long years of unchallenged dominance." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each human present. "You taught us that true strength doesn't come from uniformity or overwhelming force. It comes from diversity, from the ability to adapt and overcome. We came back because we want to learn from you, and perhaps in time, to call you allies." A murmur of approval rippled through the human delegates. Captain Chen nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "Well said, General. I think this is the beginning of a fascinating relationship." As the diplomatic talks began in earnest, Vexilor found himself marveling at the humans once again. Their ideas were as diverse as their appearances, offering perspectives the Federation had never considered. They debated, disagreed, and yet always seemed to find common ground. Hours turned into days, and days into weeks. The more Vexilor learned about humans, the more he realized how much the Federation could gain from this alliance. And to his surprise, he found the humans equally eager to learn from them. On the final day of the initial talks, as treaties were signed and handshakes exchanged, Vexilor pulled Captain Chen aside. "I owe you an apology, Captain," he said solemnly. "When we first met, I mocked you, thinking you weak. I've never been so wrong in my life." Captain Chen laughed, a warm, genuine sound that still surprised Vexilor. "Water under the bridge, General. Besides, underestimating humanity seems to be a common mistake for first-time visitors. We're just glad you came back to learn the truth." As Vexilor prepared to return to the Federation, to share all that he had learned, he took one last look at the Earth from orbit. This small blue planet, home to a species that had gone from enemies to potential allies in a matter of months. The general smiled to himself. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place, and he, Vexilor, once the mocking most feared conqueror of the Federation, was now its ambassador to humanity. The irony wasn't lost on him. As their ship jumped to hyperspace, Vexilor realized that his greatest defeat had led to his most important victory: the discovery of humanity and all the potential they represented. The future, he thought, was bright indeed.